a sermon by a white person meant for white people. Is anyone else heartbroken that we still need to be talking about this? Because we still do. Racism didn't end when Audrey got arrested. It didn't end when she was home with her family eating hot biscuits, baptized in butter. It didn't end when the laws changed. The laws changed, but people's minds and hearts don't change with the law. We still need to be talking about this because we haven't dealt with it at a national level, at a denominational level, at a church level, probably at a personal level. There's still so much to be done. I went to Union Theological Seminary to get my master's in divinity. Union is known for a lot of things, but three big ones. We're known for having the first female president of a seminary anywhere in the United States. We're known for having the second largest indoor courtyard in New York City. And we're known for being the seminary where social justice happens. If you want to learn about social justice and religion, you go to Union. If you want to be a minister that understands and does social justice work, you go to Union. And a lot of the reason for that is because the late, great Dr. James Cone was a professor at Union for many, many years. This wonderful man was the creator of Black liberation theology. He wrote in the 60s, spent several weeks, I think 6 weeks, writing his first book. That's all it took because he was in such a fever of needing to get his ideas and his words out and onto the page. Union was smart enough to snatch him up. And from his students, womanist theology was born. Womanist theology is Black women liberation theology. Why does God care about the experience of Black women, and why should you too? What this means is that Union has a statistically larger amount of Black students that go there. And a lot of those students are angry. They come from communities where they have watched their people being killed, being beaten, starving, being homeless. And so they understandably are upset when they come to Union. And that anger leads them to hold their white classmates to high expectations, reasonable high expectations. They expect the white students to come in having some idea of the racism that's going on in the world, to have some idea of their own racism, and to be ready and willing to engage in class in ways that will help end racism for everyone. I came to Union from West Virginia, so that went well. I mean, I love West Virginia. I do. I lived there for 5 years, and there are many wonderful, wonderful things about West Virginia. Yes, they sided with the North during the Civil War, and it sometimes feels like not much has changed since. Real, concrete, overt racism happens in West Virginia. And so when I was on my way to Union, I was sure that I knew what racism was about. I mean, I'd lived it for 5 years. I'd watched classmates just be so not okay. And so I knew walking through those doors that all of my fellow Black students were going to see me as an ally. I know what's up. I know what's going on. I'm on your side. I know how bad this is, and I'm ready to help you out. I knew that I had a responsibility to be there with my fellow Black students. And I knew that I knew what I was talking about, that I had done this, that I was woke. And then I took Dr. Cone's systematic theology class. Systematic theology is a fancy way of saying that you spend a semester studying what dead white guys think about God. Except for that in Dr. Cone's class, you push all the dead white guys into the first half of the semester, and you spend the second half of the semester studying more recent liberation theologies. Oh, it was great. And we started with Dr. Cone. So I did the reading that he assigned, and I was shocked to discover that he didn't necessarily advocate for nonviolence. Now, in the household I had grown up in, nonviolence was key. There was a difference between being a violent activist and a non-violent activist, and one of them was definitely better than the others. These were both common names in my household growing up, Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr., and one of them was definitely considered better than the other, because one of them advocated for nonviolence. So in Dr. Cone's class, I raised my hand and I said, Dr. Cone, I don't understand. It seems like you might be advocating for something other than nonviolence. I could feel my fellow black students inch their chairs away from me a little bit. They were giving me that look like, really? You're in a room with Dr. Cone and that's the question you're going to ask him? But Dr. Cone is a sweet, kind, honest man. And so he looked at me and he said, well, the violence is already here. Black bodies are already being killed. They're already being beaten. They're already being starved. The government is getting them addicted to drugs. So the real question is not whether or not there's going to be violence. The real question is whether or not you think it's okay for black people to defend themselves. And if you don't, why not? And if you do, then the real question becomes, which side of the violence are you going to be on? It was a brief glimpse for me behind the curtain which I hid my shame. Behind the curtain that our society constructs to allow me to not have to look at that deep, deep shame. Because let's be honest, I love the United States. I mean, I'm planning to go into the military, so I better. But I really do. I think we have a lot that we do that's really great. And that doesn't mean that I'm blind to our moral sins. We have a lot of small ones, but we have two great moral sins. How we have treated indigenous people and how we have treated people who are black. There's so much shame there. And I don't think I'm the only one. As a matter of fact, I know that I'm not the only one. Congressmen, right now, over and over again, coming out ways in which they were unbelievably racist in their long ago years. Definitely not right now. But an example a little closer to home is Peter Morales. He was the president of the UUA before our current president. And during his time, about 2 years ago, it came out that the UUA had some less than ideal hiring practices, especially around race. And his response to that was a letter. And that letter included describing the people who were upset as hysterical. That didn't go so well. The outcry to that was so great that he ended up resigning before the end of his term, just a few months before the end of his term. Now, is this a bad person? Well, I certainly don't think so. Being the president of the UUA, the Unitarian Universalist Association, not an easy job. Unitarian Universalists aren't so easy to lead sometimes. And in the midst of that kind of difficult job, this man invited refugees to live in his home with him and his wife. Bad man? I don't think so. But he has the same shame that we all have. He has that cultural shame that we have not done enough. Now, I wish I could tell you that after that moment in Dr. Cone's class, I did my thinking and I got it. And then I knew what I was talking about. And then I was joining with my black brothers and sisters and non-binary pals, doing what needed to be done so that they could be free. And if I were to tell you that, I would be a liar. Because of course I couldn't get it just then. That was one glimpse into the shame and guilt that I needed to overcome. And there were many, many more glimpses throughout my time in seminary. Finally, in my 3rd year, there came a moment when I had a dream. And the dream was a metaphor for what was going on inside of me around racism. Imagine a room. This room is perfect for you. Maybe it looks like this. Maybe it looks like this. Maybe it looks like this. Or like this. Cushions, art, draperies. The bed is exactly the right firmness or softness. Pillows as many as you want. Your favorite foods are coming in whenever you want them. You are healthy. This room is safe. This room is comfortable. Exactly the safeness and comfortableness that you need. There is one door in the room. And when you go over to it, you can hear that there's screaming going on outside. You can hear that there's what sounds like violence and death and horribleness. And so when you try the doorknob and the door doesn't open, you think, oh, that's probably for the best anyway. It's nice and safe in here. This is comfortable. Whatever's happening out there sounds pretty bad. I don't need to see that. And so what my dream showed me I was failing to understand is that I was locked into the room. That I was trapped, unable to get out. I knew that the key is somewhere in the room with me. It's hidden somewhere. Oh, there we go. Hidden somewhere under the pillows or the draperies or the bed. All I need to do to get it out is destroy them. I need to pull down the draperies, break the paintings, slash open the pillows to see what's inside. That would be hard enough. But turns out, everything in this room was given to me by someone that I love. By someone who loves me. That painting, that was given to me by a grandparent figure. The pillow, that's from a parental figure. That couch is from my group of friends in high school, got me through some tough times. The draperies, those are from my teacher in grade school. The sounds of the ocean I can hear coming in from the windows, those are from society at large. Things, people that I love, handed down to me through generations. How can you disrespect your grandparents like that? How can you slash open the pillows that they gave you? How can you unbundle their sheets, tear apart their comforters, break their paintings? Why would you do such a thing? Well, because we're trapped. And to be trapped is awful. When I was in seminary, I nannied for 3 years. I talked a little bit about this at Annabelle Pines. And this beautiful boy, I nannied him from when he was 7 to when he was 10, 5 days a week for 3 years. So I got to know him pretty well. And we spent a lot of time walking down the streets of New York together. And if you've ever known a 7 to 10-year-old, you know that they like to pretend they're independent enough to not need you, when actually they really do. And so when we would walk down the street, he would walk a car length or two in front of me pretty often, so that he could maintain the idea that he doesn't need me, while also having me behind him as a safety blanket. And I noticed something as I walked down the street with him. Over and over again, the white people that we passed would look at this little black boy, and their faces would do this thing. They would do this thing of fear and disgust and sadness. at another little black boy running around by himself. What's he gonna get into? And then they would look back and they would see me, seeing them and watching him, and suddenly their faces would change. Now from fear and disgust and sadness, it was, oh, look at the white woman helping out the little black boy. I bet she adopted him. Isn't it so great that we live in this post-racial society where a white woman can take care of a black boy? Isn't that wonderful? And if I had gone up to these people and I had asked them, you know, that thing you do with your face when you see this child and you see me, that's a little racist. I guarantee you they would have said, what? No, it has nothing to do with race. I was just concerned that there was this child walking alone by themselves. I would have been concerned no matter what race the child was. But let me tell you that I have nannied other children that were his age, that were male, and that were not black, and their faces never do that thing. This is Reverend Tandeka. She's a Unitarian Universalist theologian and minister. She's wonderful. She got her name from Archbishop Desmond Tutu, and she just has so many brilliant writings. If you have some time, go take a look at her. And she claims that it is a form of child abuse is the initial step to becoming white. That is, the white child knows something is wrong when they do not understand the racial clues they receive from their primary caregivers. However, they have no framework with which to guide them to understanding whiteness rules, so they internalize that something must be wrong with them. They internalize that something must be wrong with them. Of course, you have built a room for yourself to live in. Of course, this room is filled with things that are comfortable and familiar and that have come from people you know love you. How else are you supposed to live with that kind of misunderstanding? With that kind of shame? With that kind of horror in your life? And yet, the room is still locked. The room can still not be left any other way than by getting the key and going out. A padded room, the most beautiful padded room, is still a trap. A golden cage is still a cage. You might think that it would be crazy to leave behind something that's gold, but I will choose liberation and freedom over gold any day of the week. So when people ask me why I bother doing anti-racism work, when people get frustrated at me because I'm bringing up to them things they're saying that might not be quite so okay, when I insist that we use readers in the service who are not just white, I'm not doing that because black people need my help. Honestly, they don't. They've been doing this a whole lot longer than I have, and they know a lot more about it. I'm doing this because my liberation depends on it. Because I will not be free until we are all free. I'm doing this because I want to be out of a locked room. I'm not there yet. But someday, I will tear down every drapery, and I will have ripped apart every pillow, and I will put the key in the lock, and I will go out the door. And when I do that, I will not be alone. And whoever joins me there, all the people who strive for liberation, we will go to every locked door, and we will knock and sing until together every person is free. May it be so.